All right. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for joining us here today. We're really excited for today's session: course assessments, quality assurance, and maintaining high quality digital learning programs. So glad that you chose to join Edge and join your peers here today as part of this session. I'm Adam Scarzafava, AVP for Digital Marketing and Edge Events here with Edge. I'm going to give a quick intro for those of you who may not be as familiar with Edge, may not have maybe attended our webinars or worked with us in the past. Edge is a nonprofit, member-based research and education network and a technology consortium. We like to say, we really are of, by, and for the higher education community first and foremost, because we were formed by the New Jersey President's Council for Higher Education. We're still technically sort of owned by the presidents of the higher ed institutions throughout New Jersey, but we do get to act and operate pretty entrepreneurially and really work closely with our members to help them overcome the challenges that they experience through the use of technology. So the mission has grown over the last few years. Higher ed still is sort of the core, the backbone of everything that we do, but we've really grown to support K-12, state and local governments, libraries, healthcare, other nonprofits, really anyone with a public serving mission. Edge exists to serve them in the use of technology. Now, what does that mean? Initially, what it meant, and when Edge was formed back at the turn of the century, it meant building a network around the state of New Jersey. So we still own and operate that network. That network has grown regionally now into Pennsylvania and into New York. And through that network, probably 99% of the schools throughout New Jersey, and then a growing number of schools in New York, Pennsylvania, and throughout the region are getting their internet connectivity through Edge. We provide some really sort of customized service and high-speed capabilities to connect with the education providers that folks need to get to out on the internet, and to collaborate from institution to institution on research and big data projects and things like that. Edge Discovery is that technology-based research and discovery framework that leverages the network and really helps to enable that that high-tech research that is happening so often these days, as well as to help with grants submission and management, which is really key to the research process as well. Edge Market is our strategic informed consortium procurement arm. Through Edge Market, we issue RFPs that are then available for procurement for any institution, public sector organization, really across the country in any state that accepts out-of-state co-ops, which is almost all of them now. So that's really exciting because we can aggregate the need from our members, the demand from our members, simplify the RFP process by Edge doing it once, and then make those contracts available to everybody throughout the higher ed community. Events networking and community building, just like what we're doing here today. And then Edge provides some thought leadership and solution development to our community, really to close gaps in challenges and issues that our community might be having. So this is in digital transformation support and strategy, helping to craft strategic plans that answer the bell for modern technology and the needs of modern students. Cybersecurity, privacy, and compliance, of course, is huge as we see institutions every day facing threats from ransomware. Cloud strategy, how to leverage the modern cloud technologies effectively, whether that's through applications, infrastructure, or beyond. And then digital teaching and learning, which is what we're here to focus on today. Josh Gaul, our Chief Digital Learning Officer, and his growing team of instructional technologists and instructional support specialists really do a great job of helping our member institutions on the digital teaching and learning side with everything from online learning strategy through to some of the more practical aspects, like what we'll hear about today with course assessment. So with that, I'll stop sharing my screen, and Josh, I'll invite you to jump in and start sharing yours, and we can get into the meat of today's content.
Sure thing. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, so just a reminder, today's session, course assessments, quality assurance, and maintaining high quality digital learning programs. So a quick peek at the agenda before we start. quick introduction for myself. Then we'll go into story time because I've got some stories to tell. Then we're going to talk about quality assurance. I have a quick little video that I'm going to share. We're going to discuss evaluating courses and the rubrics that are used for that, the implementation of an evaluation cycle for courses, looking at course assessment in general, and then talking about EdgeLearn services and summarizing what we're talking about, and then Q&A at the end. I want to make sure I leave enough time at the end for Q&A with everybody. So give me just a second here. And that's me, actually just taken a couple weeks ago. So that's a very updated photo of me. Might be the same shirt too.
I was going to say the shirt looks familiar, Josh.
So my background, my undergraduate and my graduate degrees are from IUP, which is in Western Pennsylvania in the middle of nowhere, in Indiana, Pennsylvania, home of Jimmy Stewart. I had an undergraduate in communications media, and my graduate degree is in adult education and communications technology, a program which has since been renamed to, I believe, instructional design and technology. So that gives you a little bit of background of where I am there. And I'm currently a doctoral student at Wilmington University. I have 3 courses left, and then it's all dissertation. I'm in organizational leadership, learning, and innovation, and my focus of my dissertation research is the application of change management methodologies in LMS transitions, because I've done 3 of them and I've helped schools get through a lot of them. So it's kind of my background, kind of my bailiwick, if you will. So now that that's out of the way, let's sit around the campfire, roast some marshmallows, and let's tell some stories. So, story number 1. A major university has both an online division and an on-ground division. The instructional design team for the college is a central office that reports up through the online division. The on-ground and hybrid courses are delivered at disparate locations across the state. While the instructional design process in the online college follows a distinct template using the college's LMS, the staffs at the disparate locations don't follow the same template, but use the same LMS, which is centrally managed by the IT team. Furthermore, there's nothing stopping the instructors at the disparate locations from spinning up fully online courses that have no oversight, because they don't report up through the same office as the online division. They all still sit under the provost, but they aren't held by the same rules or standards, because the disparate locations report up through their centers, quote unquote, which function like autonomous units separate from the online division. The catch: say there's a center in Paterson, New Jersey, where 2 enrolled students live. They both need to take English 101, but would rather take the online version of the course because of, different personal things they need to deal with. In the upcoming term, there are 10 online sections of the course, 6 from the online division, 1 from Paterson, 1 from Trenton, and 2 from Wayne, New Jersey. The 6 online courses all look the same out of the gate, even if they are taught by different instructors, different adjuncts. But the Paterson section looks completely different from them, which looks different from the Trenton version, which looked different from the Wayne version. Even further, the 2 Wayne sections look different because a different instructor is teaching each of them. Even further, since the Paterson instructor teaches for the online division 2, he is teaching 2 of the online sections plus the Paterson section, and they look completely different. Different textbook, different syllabus, different activities, et cetera, so on and so forth. So both students could take the same course from the same Paterson-based instructor and have 2 wildly different experiences. So that's story number 1. Story number 2. A large private institution has multiple schools, all with varying enrollments and reputation. For the purpose of this story, we'll stick to humanities, science, mathematics, and health and humans in nursing, let's just say, to make it easier. They each have their own instructional design staff that follow the Quality Matters rubric with a stringent revision cycle. Let me back up a second. The most robust online program at the school are in the science and the mathematics departments. Each of those departments have their own instructional design staff that follow the Quality Matters rubric. They have a stringent revision cycle because they know their topics change and studies change all the time. Their instructors are required to partner with the instructional designers to ensure their courses meet these quality standards. Now, the arts department, the humanities department has their own online program too, but it's not quite as expansive. They have a small instructional design staff, one full-time and one part-time person, and instructors are encouraged, though not required, to work with them. They don't really have time to implement any sort of a rubric-based assessment system, so they base their revisions off of instructor requests. When an instructor decides, I want to update my course, they have to put in a request, and then it goes into the revision cycle. The nursing department doesn't have online programming at all, but has decided to move several of their courses online, but they don't have the staff to do so. They have no instructional designers, no instructional technologists. To make matters more complicated, the science and math departments use Canvas as their LMS, but the arts department uses Moodle. The Canvas instance is cloud hosted, and all the support is provided directly from Canvas 24/7. The Moodle instance is self-hosted, and the IT department handles most of the tier 1, tier 2 support. The nursing department doesn't have an LMS because they don't have any online programming yet. And even if they did want to move on to one of the two LMSs the school already uses, they don't have the staff to do it. And the IT department's already overworked. They don't have enough instructional designers in humanities to help them with it. And science and math already has a very closed off system, so they are really iffy about allowing nursing to join their LMS. Oh, and one more thing. Nursing majors and all other majors of the college are required to take a diverse set of core courses, which includes math, science, and humanities. So theoretically, a student could be taking 3 courses, 1 nursing course in person, or 4 courses, a math course, a science course, both on Canvas, and a humanities course or 2 in Moodle, all the same school. That's story number 2. And our final story is a community college has been seeing enrollments drop for years and are trying to reinvigorate their school with some online programs. They have a center for teaching and learning, but it functions more like a storefront for faculty training and workshops run by a director and a part-time instructional designer. So it may be a center, but it's not really an office necessarily. That staff doesn't actually work directly with the courses the instructors teach unless the instructor asks them to. Even that is usually just help desk level work. It's usually an instructor's building something, says, I want to use Google Jamboard in my course. How do I do it? And then they come in, meet with them for an hour, and then they kind of ignore them until something goes wrong with Jamboard. The community college has Blackboard as their LMS for hybrid courses, but it's very out of date and hosted on site by an IT department that's understaffed and overwhelmed already. Even further, they and many other local community colleges have recently been hit with OCR complaints, Office of Civil Rights complaints, that their website and their digital learning curriculum, anything that's on their LMSs that they have for hybrid courses, aren't accessible. They don't meet accessibility standards and 508 compliance. So with the staff they have and no framework in place to implement an online campus, it would be near impossible to spin up quality online programs without outside assistance and digital transformation effort that lends itself more to more mature organizations than this college could even handle. So all of these things, I want to take a look at this quick little video. Hopefully you can hear it. If not, I'll restart my share.
I'm not getting the audio.
Can you hear it?
The Quality Assurance Agency for Higher Education is responsible for upholding the quality and standards of all universities and colleges in the UK. Quality is how well your university or college supports your learning. The teaching, the support available, the resources available, and how you are assessed. Standards, the level of achievement you need to succeed on your course and get your qualification. Standards should not vary from one higher education provider to another. Having quality and standards means everyone can have confidence in their degree and education. Quality assurance is ultimately all about maintaining standards and ensuring students have the best possible experience at university or college. Getting involved means that your voice can be heard, and the views of students are made central to the process.
So I don't know in full. So I don't know in full how the UK does it, but a lot of that may have just kind of been fancy language for kind of what the accreditation systems do here in America, like middle states and things like that. But the idea of quality assurance and making sure there are standards that everybody has to meet across the college are of paramount importance in higher education nowadays, because the higher education system in a lot of cases is broken. And a lot of that is due to a lack of standards across the board, which is a lot of the reason for the drop in retention, a lot of the reason for the drop in enrollment and things like that. So a lot of you know about what we're going to talk about on this slide, but I kind of want to go through a little bit of, when you're evaluating courses, the rubrics that we use as a standard in higher education. The first is probably the most popular, also expensive, Quality Matters, which began with a small group of colleagues in Maryland online consortium who are trying to solve a problem among institutions. How do we measure and guarantee the quality of a course? So in 2003, they outlined how the Quality Matters program could create a scalable process for quality assurance, and applied for a fund of a FIPSI grant from the U.S. Department of Education. Quality Matters is a global organization leading quality assurance in online and digital innovative digital teaching and learning in learning environments. And although that grant extended to 2006, Quality Matters persisted as a self-sustaining program, within MOL, and was used to impact the quality of teaching and learning at a state and national level. In the years that followed, more than 1,500 colleges and universities, many of you are probably Quality Matters schools, have joined the Quality Matters community. And they've trained over 60,000, including myself, education professionals on online course design standards and certified thousands of online and blended courses. So Quality Matters has 8 general standards and 42 total standards. I'm not going to go through all 42, but the general standards are course overview and information, learning objectives, assessment and measurement, instructional materials, learning activities and learner interaction, course technology, learner support, and accessibility and usability. Now, the other big, nationwide is from OSCAR, which is SUNY based. Before I joined EDGE, I spent 15 years in the SUNY system, so I'm also very familiar with OSCAR. SUNY Online, in collaboration with campuses through the SUNY system, developed this online design rubric that addresses instructional design and accessibility of online courses. It's openly licensed for anyone to use and adopt. The aim of OSCAR and the quality review process that SUNY has in place is to support continuous improvements, and quality accessibility in online courses. How do you support large-scale online course design review and refresh efforts systematically and consistently? Work on the OSCAR rubric was through the SUNY Center for Online Technology Teaching Excellence, and initiated in 2013 as one aspect of the Open SUNY initiatives that Chancellor Zempfer, who is no longer there, now former, was pushing for the systemness of SUNY, and as an effort to turn SUNY schools not into competitors but collaborators. The goal is to ensure that all online courses meet a quality instructional design and accessibility standard and are regularly and systematically reviewed, refreshed, and improved to reflect campus guidelines and research-based online effective practices. OSCAR has 6 general standards and 50 total standards. The 6 are the overview and information, technology and tools, design and layout, content and activities, interaction, and assessment and feedback. And anybody who's familiar with both Quality Matters and OSCAR can pretty much say that they're pretty similar. They're measuring the same thing. They just kind of word it a little differently, and they have a different process, a different checklist, so on and so forth. But they both mean the same thing. And then some schools, there are a lot of other rubrics out there, whether it's the Blackboard exemplary course rubric. The state of California has their own kind of California type OSCAR. And then some schools have a homegrown rubric. We've done work with Thomas Edison, and they have their own homegrown rubric that they measure courses against. But even then, these homegrown rubrics tend to measure the exact same thing as every other rubric. The point is not necessarily which rubric you're using. The point is that there's a rubric in place that you're following and that you're systematically checking courses against, and you have some sort of accountability and knowledge sharing process about the rubric across the entire college. So how do you implement an evaluation cycle to make sure that your courses, regardless of the program you're in, meets these standards? The first thing is to gather data and understand the trends of your school. You know, what the enrollment frequency, are students enrolling in some course a lot? How many fail and drop out? You know, at the time in the Thomas Edison project, we were evaluating what were called we called barrier courses, the idea of courses that we saw a lot of drops or a lot of students not enrolling in. So it led us to believe, oh, there must be something wrong with that course, or there must be something we're missing with that course. We need to make sure we review it again. You know, what courses tend to have the most students in them, so they likely are the ones that you need to update on a more frequent basis. What are the disciplines that make the most sense to evaluate and revise more frequently? You know, science and math courses change a lot more than history courses. History courses, you know, the main curriculum probably stays the same a lot, but you can update on the fly because that usually you can apply it to, you know, current events and things like that, but you don't need to change the curriculum to do that. What are the pass fail rates? Are there specific activities that might need revision because of the, you know, you're seeing students struggle with a lot of those activities? And then class specific data. You know, are there things in the course that you're noticing, oh, after week 4, students are dropping out. After week 6, students are struggling a lot more with this assignment and this assignment. You know, understanding the data and trusting the data. Summative feedback. Between offerings, take stock of the online course as a whole and reflect on these questions. You know, does the course learning environment welcome and include all students? Is there an encouraging engagement? Are opportunities for self-reflection and discussion provided? Do activities provide opportunities for realistic, relevant, and meaningful application of knowledge? Are students achieving the goals of the course? You know, are they meeting those objectives? Is the workload reasonable for both students and the instructor? I can't tell you how many times I've worked with schools and I've gone in and revised or evaluated a course, and you've got one course that has 6 modules, and every module has an essay, a discussion, and every other module has a quiz. And then one course has every single module has 3 writing assignments, 2 discussions, and a quiz in every single module, which depending on the discipline can be incredibly overwhelming for students. So the fact that these courses are so wildly different and so vastly different in terms of workload is something that students have a lot of cognitive issues with nowadays, especially in the post-pandemic era. This isn't something you can just do willy-nilly off the top of your head either. You need to put in a project management process, build a process, define who does what by mapping it out, involve instructional designers, librarians, IT services, student support, academic support. All of them should be included. It shouldn't all fall on the instructor. I've said this in multiple presentations I've given. No student graduates from college and says, my favorite instructor was my favorite instructor because he really knew his content. It's because they were free to be able to make impact on students, you know, free to, you know, not make the course 90%, oh, this is where you go to take this assignment, this is where you go to find the syllabus. Faculty need to be able to teach, let them teach. So involve more people in the development and revision process to make sure they're not dependent on that as well. What are the benefits? Fresh courses that don't have textbooks that are 15 years old when they should be a year old. You know, the courses like accounting courses, those tax laws change all the time. Those courses need to be revised all the time just to change the textbook. Institutional attitude. If you're taking an approach as an institution that all of our courses need to be reviewed and updated, and the highest quality courses possible is our mission and our vision as an institution, it's going to go a long way to improve your brand, to make students understand that you care about them, because students should be the center of everything we do. a collective experience. Look, this should, like I said, this should not fall all on the faculty. It shouldn't even fall on the faculty and the instructional designers. There are so many, if the faculty member is the homeowner, if we're talking about a course as a house, if the faculty member is the homeowner, the instructional designer is the general contractor, IT is your plumbing and your electrician, student support are your flooring people. Every single person, every single organization, every single office in the college has a role in the instructional design and the development and the revision of a course. Involve them early on, because Lord knows you don't want to put in all the walls and the floors of your house and then realize, oh darn, I forgot to run the electrical, I forgot to put in the plumbing. Finally, they're easier to support. If all the offices know what's going on and all the courses get revised on a regular basis, there's less likely chances for confusion, for technical issues, for content issues, because everybody knows what's going on and you're tracking everything that's going on. I have to take a drink. So when you're assessing your courses, whether it's from a system level or just an individual course level, there's barriers that you need to get over. I want to just quick talk about the individual barriers and then look at the system barriers you're looking at. The individual barriers, a lack of tech experience. Students who don't have tech experience and faculty who don't have tech experience assume that a lot of this is technologically focused. But the fact of the matter is the technology should never lead the academia. The teaching should lead the technology. So anytime that technology is involved in instruction, there should be some collaborative effort to make sure you get over that hump. Previously burned, if a student has been burned before or an instructor has been burned before, they're not going to want to revise again. They're not going to want to take part in this process if it has hurt them before or they've seen it move negatively. Lack of motivation. Everybody's busy. Everybody needs to do other things beyond taking your online courses or teaching your online courses. There just might not be time and might not be an effort that you want to do to take part in that course. Personal cognition. Students are all cognitively different. That's why Universal Design for Learning, which UDL, which leans toward accessibility, but actually does a lot more toward cognitive dissonance and helping students that have mental breakdowns more than blind and deaf students and things like that. It's meant to let students understand what they're getting into when they're teaching when they're taking online courses. So when you're revising courses, students need to know what they're in for. Difficult content. Some courses are harder to take online than others. That's just a fact. And that's just sometimes how hard it is for students to deal with. Inadequate support. If courses don't have built-in places, if students don't know where to go for help, whether it's technical, whether it's tutoring, whether it's writing center style help, it needs to be built into the course in order for students to feel supported and feel like they have good emotional intelligence in the course. A lack of a learning community. Students are isolated enough taking online courses. If you're not building community in the course, it's very difficult for students to feel connected to you and connected to their classmates. And finally, boredom. If a course is boring, if a course is just read this 10-page paper and then write a 5-page paper this week, post once and respond twice in the discussion forum. If it's stagnant and boring, students don't care. You need to revise to make sure students are more engaged in those courses. And if we're talking about system barriers, the implementation itself of the course assessment, poor preparation. Faculty, instructional designers just aren't ready to implement the course. They're not ready to revise the course. They just don't have the time to do it. Lack of commitment. The school just is not committed to a large-scale quality assurance project. I mean, without buy-in from the top, whether it's the president, whether it's the provost, whether it's the CIO in some cases, there's no way something like this could happen. Inconsistency, and I mentioned it in a couple of the stories. We see this more often than not, especially when schools don't have centralized instructional design departments that faculty are required to work with. If you give if faculty are given free rein to do whatever they want, that's fine in some cases, because a lot of times faculty are given training, this is the best approach, this is the best way to do things. But unless there's some sort of an oversight and some sort of checks and balances, courses are going to be inconsistent and students are going to have difficulty moving from shell to shell if they're taking more than one online course. Digital non-fluency. Not everybody knows how to do this. Not everybody is comfortable doing this. Not everybody is technologically savvy to be able to do this. So not only do they need to have digital literacy improved and being able to understand how to use the tools, but fluency, understanding why these tools are used, understanding how they impact the pedagogy of the course, understanding how certain tools meet certain pedagogical needs and certain tools you don't need. Not everything, the answer to every question is not a new gizmo. Out of date, mentioned this already. If the course is out of date, textbooks 15 years old, old policies are in there from before the last tax law revision, something needs to change. And finally, just lack of upkeep. If an instructor is teaching the same course every single term for 10 years, there might be a possibility of complacency, especially if nobody's holding their feet to the fire. Before I move to the next slide, I want to stress really quickly that this is not an anti-faculty presentation. I want to make it clear that the purpose of building a course assessment system and a course evaluation and a course, a clear maintenance of your course quality throughout the system is so that faculty don't have to spend their time doing this and have support so that they can do what they want to do. They can teach, they can research. They don't have to worry about all of these other little bullets that I've been going through, because they have a team of support professionals who are willing to work with them to do it. And there's buy-in from the system level. The whole goal is not to take courses away from the faculty. The whole goal is to give faculty the support that they need so their courses can really pop and really make the engagement with the students, make the impact with students that they need to make at a quality level. So it's sales time. So Edge Learn, which is what we do, provides a lot of instructional design support to do this type of thing. We understand the methodologies, the rubrics, the standards that go into the creation of high quality curriculum. We've done these evaluation projects. We've worked with schools like Stockton, Georgian Court, Thomas Edison, I mentioned before, to do course evaluations and give them analysis, identify trends that we see in their courses that could be used as, this could be an improvement that could work on. We have extensive experience in copyright and ADA compliance and things like that. We can train your faculty and students, build workshops on how to understand why online instruction is different than traditional classroom learning. This goes from traditional to hybrid, to high flex, to online learning, to competency-based education. We can prepare staff and students for the challenge of online education through engaging student-centered experiences built to encourage online presence and encouraging active learning methodologies. And then we get to the assessment and evaluation, and we provide this course and curriculum evaluation services to ensure the product you deliver to students meets all the standards that quality technology enhanced instruction should, whether it's fully online, hybrid, high flex, in person, or one of these other many innovative new modalities. And this provides a level of risk management and quality control that often gets ignored when there's so much focus on the tools and the system recruitment and retention and things like that, just spinning up courses. And finally, web and educational technology support. We provide technology and web support service management frameworks and ticketing systems, or help you with things like a website upkeep and things like that, web design, web content management and things like that. And finally, all of this is encompassing kind of what the larger concept of this presentation has been about. And like Adam mentioned, I'm the Chief Digital Learning Officer, and we provide thought leadership in figuring out how you can implement something system-wide, some sort of a quality control, quality assurance platform system so that you can ensure that all of your courses meet a certain standards. Implement that revision cycle, bridge that gap between technology and academia without throwing too much on either end, so that it's a collaborative effort as opposed to, two silos working in competition with each other. And our methodology is really just, what do you need? What are the goals you wish to accomplish? What can we help you with? Everything we do is customizable. Everything is on the table. We can customize for smaller niche projects, or we can support larger initiatives that take months or years to complete, or ongoing work, serving as a member or members of your team. We've been working with Rowan University for now 3 years doing instructional design support for them. And we've basically just become a member of their team. It's become a great project, a process, and a great partnership over long term. Everything's open. We provide the documentation you need, from hourly tracking, raw materials used in the project. Whatever we produce, whether it's a learning object, a series of training modules, anything else, is owned by you. Unlike, online program managers that you see out there, we don't take a dime from you in terms of tuition reimbursement or anything like that. We charge at a nonprofit rate, build you the SOW, and we get it done, and we move on. Or hopefully build long-term partnerships with you. So, in summary, before we get to kind of the question and answer part, how do you do this type of thing? Number one, to be simple, try to make this as simple as possible. Step one is agreeing on quality. What are the standards that should be met for your online courses across the entire institution? More often than not, you see departments that each have their own instructional design team or their own, library or something like that. They might have a quality set of standards, but they don't necessarily line up. Or one has a quality standard and the other one doesn't. As much as it pains me to say it, sometimes the best way to be innovative is to take a step back and get basic with it. You can't be extraordinary without being first ordinary. Sometimes you need to go back and see how you're keeping the lights on. And if the quality that goes into turning the lights on and off is good enough, then you can move beyond it. You need to have a baseline before you can actually do something really impactful. Trust the data. One of my least favorite phrases, which I used to hear all the time in SUNY, was people coming to me and saying, faculty are telling me that there's this issue with the LMS. And my response would always be, what faculty? Just faculty, which really usually means, no, you have a problem with it, but you have no data to back that up. Now, if you have a ticketing system, service management system that tells me, oh my God, I have 15 tickets in here all about the exact same thing, then it's a problem, then it's a trend, then it's something we can fix. But we need to understand what the data tells us. If one student is having an issue in a course that no other student is having an issue in, the likelihood is that student needs more support than the other students. It's not necessarily a course issue. If 50% of the students in the course are having the same issues, then it's probably a design issue that needs to be addressed. But you need to understand and trust the data and make decisions based on that data. Come on, next one. Next one. It doesn't, there we go. Collective responsibility and accountability. You can implement a quality assurance program, a quality assurance system, a risk management system until you're blue in the face, until the cows come home. But unless there is an accountability attached to it, unless you ensure that everybody is responsible for what their role is in the system, it doesn't work. If every single time the same faculty member or the same adjunct who doesn't have experience with the course makes the same mistake, even though he or she has gotten a workshop, has gotten a training on it, has gotten holding twice by faculty support or instructional design support, if they're still making the same mistake, responsibility needs to be taken, accountability needs to be held, some decision needs to be made. Something needs to go into place, whether it's in the faculty guidebook, whether it's in some sort of central knowledge management system that says you are responsible for this, this, and this. If you do not meet these responsibilities, you will see punishment, not punishment, but see, you know, some accountability, some responsibility, some consequences will be put into place. And the importance of revision cycles. Online courses, we said this early on in, you know, when people would build online portfolios. If your online portfolio, if your website, if your web presence is stagnant and never changes, it's better to not have a web presence. And it's the same thing with an online course. If your online course has been the same for 6 years, that course shouldn't be taught anymore. That course is out of date. That course is boring. That course doesn't benefit students at all. Students can find, you know, if you view your, we said a keynote speaker at an EdgeCon once said this, and I love this. If you believe as an instructor your role is to impart knowledge, you're not important. Knowledge is free. Students can find all the knowledge they get from your textbooks for free online. Your job as an instructor is to make an impact with them. And if your course is stagnant and boring, not through your own fault, through a lack of college-wide systemness and an approach to quality assurance, then that course is not going to make the impact you want it to make. So the importance of revision cycles that are quality, that trust the data, and have accountability and responsibility across the board are incredibly important. So, in summary, NJ Edge can help. We can do this for you. You know, we can help you. You know, this is not necessarily just, the goal of this was not necessarily to be, you know, salesy or anything like this, but the goal of this is for you to see the importance of having a system-wide approach to quality assurance in your online courses. Now, it helps that Edge can help you, but the importance is that our view should be that students are our number one priority. If students are dropping out of your, if students are dropping out a lot, then you need to look at your courses. You need to look at your system. You need to look at your supports that are in there. And you need to look at how all of the offices in your college, whether it's instructional design, whether it's the provost's office, whether it's student support, whether it's accreditation, whether it's, you know, enrollment, whether it's, you know, all of these offices work together to create a student life cycle that is beneficial and supportive to the student. You know, we saw in the pandemic that the schools that got through the pandemic weren't necessarily the ones who were always online right away, but they were the ones who had the support systems in place and the innovative thinking in place that gave their students the support they needed to get through the pandemic. Even if they were taking Zoom classes every week, as long as students knew that they had support from their faculty, from their institution, from their, you know, their IT staff, students were more likely to stay at that college, even if it was kind of a messy couple of years. You know, that's what the data showed. And that's what we at Edge want to help you with as you move forward, as you advance your higher education, as you advance your online education, as you transform your instruction, and as you look at ways to improve your institution. Edge can be there in more ways than one to help you improve your courses, to help you improve the way you do business, and to help you ensure that all the courses you put out there that has your institution's name on it are the highest quality possible, and students are going to graduate saying, wow, I'm so happy I went to this institution because these courses really, they changed my life for the better. So now I want to open it up for questions. I will stop sharing.
Thanks, Josh. We had, I think to get the ball rolling here, we had a couple of questions come in through the chat and the Q&A, and actually 2 of them are pretty similar and I think sort of overlapping. So I'll ask them both and see where you want to take it. But
Okay.
First through the chat, we had a question. Can you share insights on how to acquire all the different instructors' buy-in to follow the outline standards? And I think this is probably a common challenge because we have a question through the Q&A. How would you recommend establishing quality assurance in a school where there is very little accountability from faculty, especially if you have tried many times to ask leadership to hold faculty more accountable, but are met with resistance. So I think kind of a couple different ways of approaching the same sort of challenge here.
Yeah, it's a difficult nut to crack in a lot of cases because, I mean, we've all heard the common phrase, well, that's not how we do things here. This. I used to have a sign in my office that my wife made me take down because it was mean. That said, just because you've always done it that way doesn't mean it's not incredibly stupid. Which is mean. It's a mean way to say, basically, look, if you don't like change, you'll like irrelevance even less. And what we've seen struggling with in a lot of schools is this happens more often than not if there's not a centralized office of instructional design that's kind of in charge of maintaining the quality of the online course. The first story that I told in the presentation was where I used to work at SUNY. It was Empire State College. Empire State College had a centralized instructional design office, but they were in what was called the Center for Distance Learning. And the reason why their courses, at least in CDL, were so high quality is because faculty didn't own no offense to faculty, but faculty didn't own those courses. The instructional designers owned those courses. They were the ones who decided when revision cycles took place, and the faculty members still served as developers, still had ownership of those courses in terms of, you're the main developer of this course. Your version of the course is the A+ version of the course. But all the instructors that taught at all the disparate locations weren't held to those standards. So not long before I left, it was an attempt to kind of implement this, and Lord have mercy, it did not go well. But SUNY as a whole started to kind of overtake the entire thing with SUNY Online, which is what they're doing right now with Desire to Learn and with the Oscar rubric and all that. Alexandra Pickett from SUNY Central, if anybody knows her. But I think your first step is to get an agreement amongst academic leadership about the importance of defining a set of standards. It doesn't have to be Quality Matters. It doesn't have to be Oscar. It has to be some sort of standards that takes into account all of the things that students need to succeed. If you broadly lay that out in some sort of a unified approach to instruction, then I think your first step is to teach people about that, spread that word, make sure that that Bible of quality assurance is available to everybody, and not only to faculty, but available to students. So students can see this is what equals a high quality course at your institution. If you aren't seeing this, you need to let us know. Because guess what? One of the easiest ways to hold faculty accountable is to give students a voice, especially if you've got faculty who are really pushing back. Look, I understand about faculty being cognizant or like not being willing to make kind of big changes because they don't have time, because we're expecting them to do so much already. But the ones that are actually actively pushing back are the ones that need to hear from students and needs to hear data. And even that sometimes doesn't even work. Sometimes the squeaky wheel just needs to be ignored. But it's change management. It's building that guiding coalition, building that group of people, the people that all the rest of the college listens to. That faculty member who seems to be always the ringleader at the faculty senate meetings. That person in IT who's really the forward thinker, who really wants to kind of shake things up, but that everybody else listens to. Those are the types of people you need to build, that guiding coalition, build that group of people who can lead this type of mission at the institution. I feel like I talked in 70 circles there, but I think I got there.
Well, and I think sometimes what we've seen too, and Josh, as you've worked on our member campuses, sometimes it takes that outside voice to help move the needle too.
Mhm.
And so for an organization who sort of represents the the wider body of institutions throughout the state or throughout the region, and that perspective that we can bring can be some nice backup sometimes if that, those leadership ranks are open to hearing from somebody from outside. Sometimes it feels like you're banging your head against the wall, but it can help to have sort of an outside authoritative voice coming in too.
Yeah, sometimes the best way to increase the sense of urgency is to bring somebody in who can give you the data that then you can use to take to your leadership. I mean, we've done projects where we've evaluated a bunch of courses and then we gave them a report and said, look, these are all the things we noticed, these are the trends, this is what's different about the humanities courses versus the science and math and technology courses. And they took that, the group that asked us to do it then took that to their leadership and we're working to implement a revision process. So
another question, kind of following up on that, could data be helpful to obtain buy-in from leadership, other faculty? If so, what pilot data could be collected to warrant a larger assessment of quality? For example, student surveys.
Yeah, the student surveys are probably the thing that speaks the most to leadership, because that ties directly to enrollment, recruitment, and retention and things like that. Adam, I'm going to use the phrase I was using. The problem that we have, the problem with data, and while I'm a big data person, the problem with data is that data only appeals to the mind. Data doesn't appeal to the heart to motivate change. Martin Luther King didn't say, I have a strategic plan. Martin Luther King said, I have a dream. Appeal to the hearts, appeal to, tell, I mean, there's a reason why I told 3 stories to start this thing. I didn't, you want to tell a story with student feedback. You want to tell that story about the student who is struggling in your courses because this course looked different than this course. This course, they had to look for 60 minutes just to find the syllabus. This course, that type of thing makes a little bit more impact in a lot of cases than just the data, but you need the data there to back up that impact, because while you're appealing to the hearts of a lot, sometimes the CFO needs the data. The CIO a lot of times needs the data. So you need to build a story. You need to tell a story with data and with narratives that can push that initiative forward.
Yeah. Another question in through the chat. How would you recommend to help students themselves understand what a high quality online course should include and consist of, and then help them feel empowered to do something with that realization?
I have always been a fan of giving students a look. A lot of students are given when they enroll in your institution and they're taking online courses, they're usually given like online training. This is how to take your online course, but very rarely are they actually enrolled in a course that's a good online course. It's usually like a clunky, here's this document, this is how you post in a discussion, this is how you write an essay and upload it into a Dropbox, so on and so forth. I like the idea of, in fact, I preached this idea of we had somebody who I used to work with, who, I'm sorry for the, if this is crass, but she called it the cocaine method. Give them just a little taste, they'll come back for more. The idea of finding a really exemplary course and giving students access to it even before they've enrolled in the institution. Look at what we do here. Look at what courses we have that you can offer, and then give them kind of the playbook afterwards. Tell them the reason why this course is good is because of this. These are the standards we want to hold all of our courses to. And if you give students autonomy and give students the freedom and the safety to be able to, the psychological safety in their courses to be able to say to student support or academic support or something, I'm taking this course and it doesn't feel like it meets your standards. What do I do? That's something that needs to be taken seriously and cannot be just looked at and say, oh, this student's just complaining. You need to take those requests seriously And that's one of the biggest things. I give students access to an exemplary course early on. I lay out the reasons why that course is exemplary with data to support it, and then make sure students know that they have an outlet, they have a place where they can go if they think that it doesn't meet the standards that you've set forth. You're muted.
That way that student feedback isn't looked at maybe as, like you said, just that student complaining, but it's based on information that the institution has provided and sort of the standard that we've set out for ourselves.
And that's why evaluating that student feedback, it's important. It's not just like, well, this is just another student complaining about this, but it's looking at the student feedback and understanding what of the student feedback is actually about the course and what of it is about the instructor. Because you have to kind of, sometimes it is just complaining about an instructor. Sometimes it's seriously about the design of the course, and you need to be able to parse that out.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that we haven't seen any additional questions come in right now. We'll be here for a couple more minutes, so feel free if something jumps to mind to drop that in the chat or Q&A, or even come off mute and ask it. While we're signing off, I do want to introduce you to another member of the Edge team that we have here, Erin Brink, one of our member account managers. Erin is a great resource if you have any questions. If you want to know how to get to additional information from Edge, reach out to Erin. Erin.brink is her email address at njedge.net. I think I can see her typing. I think she's putting it in the chat right now, so you can grab it there. We'll share her email address as well as Josh's contact info in follow up to this session as well, just so that everybody has it. And if you need any support, or even if you have any additional questions that jump to mind, feel free to reach out to us. And like Josh said, the Edge team is always here to help. So thanks so much, everybody, for joining us today. I think it was a really informative session. Thanks for participating in the chat, asking questions. And thanks, Josh, for your time as always. It was a great session. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.